Hello, Taurus. Welcome. Take a seat and relax. There's nothing you need to do in this present moment except to relax and enjoy your reading, Taurus. And to start your reading off, we have card number 27. Big changes are coming, and they are coming at you fast. D'Angelo in the scene says, "So, coasting time is officially over. Big changes are coming, and they're coming fast. If you don't like them, this is called a door, and you can walk right through it." And Oscar says, "These sound like good ideas. Why wouldn't we like them? Good changes are coming, and they are coming at you fast." Good changes are coming. So, it's very easy to be scared of changes in general, right? But why would we be scared of good changes? Just like Oscar said, these sound like good changes. Why wouldn't we like them, But as humans, like our patterns, and we don't like changes, right? We don't like to face the unknown. Because that's what really changes are. It's just, you getting used to a certain pattern, and then all of a sudden this pattern decides to change on you. And it's unknown. And the unknown is scary. The dark is scary. Not being able to see is scary. Not being able to know what's coming is scary. But changes are good, especially if we really are eternal. I understand if we were only lived to be 100 years old, it'd be kind of nice to find something you like and just coast and have a good time, but we really learn by making ourselves uncomfortable. We learn by putting us in challenging situations, right? We learn by putting ourselves in front of the unknown so that we can know it, and then the unknown becomes a little smaller. So knowing is kind of cool. But big changes are coming. They're coming at you fast. But they are good changes. So embrace these changes. Okay, don't push these changes away. Don't struggle when these changes appear. Let's see what these changes have for us. Let's see what gifts these changes come with. Wow, the Knight of Swords with the Ace of Swords. Oof, a lot of truth. Look at that. They both have a sword in their hand. This is like finally being in charge of your mind. Can you imagine how that would feel? Not being anxious and depressed all of the time. That would be so great to be in charge of our mind and, thinking what we want to think, and seeing things for what they really are. Because that's really the thing about the mind is that, it's analyzing everything. It's trying to put things into its box so that it understands it and says, a lot of the time, though, is that the mind isn't really interpreting the real world very well, right? It's being interpreted through our emotions, or it's being interpreted through somebody else's eyes, or it's, the mind interprets things, and it grabs all of the words that it hears, and it tries to make a story out of the outside world so that it better understands it. But when we see things through our emotions, when we see things through other people's eyes, through, a lot of different lenses, well, it's kind of hard to pinpoint the real live situation for what it is instead of for what we are making it. And it looks like these are some of the big changes that are coming. So the Knight of Swords, the knight is like that knight in shining armor who is going to go out and go on an adventure, and he's not afraid of anything. He'll slay that dragon to save that princess, right? So now imagine that type of energy with your mind. Imagine your mind not, because whenever you're thinking, I'm sure you think the same way, but I keep putting myself into certain situations, right? And I have certain conversations with people, and, a lot of the times they're not good, fun situations. But that's me not being, in control of that sword, of that mind, right? So imagine the situations you keep putting yourself in the mind is things of like a knight in shining armor who's going to save that princess. Mind your mind treating you that way. Imagine being the princess, and then your mind is going to save you. And if there is a problem, instead of putting ourselves into that problem a million times in our head, our mind starts looking for a solution instead, right? And doesn't make us feel horrible. And instead it's like, oh, I need to save my princess. So the mind starts looking for solutions and things that it can do to either fix this situation or put ourselves into a different environment to where the situation won't be able to happen again. So that is the type of energy that is being changed, right? Your mind, instead of it attacking you the whole time, telling you, why did you do this? Why did you do this? Oh man, we embarrassed ourselves over here. Remember that time we embarrassed ourselves? And just, you attacking yourself, your mind attacking you. Imagine your mind treating you like a princess that needs to be saved. Right? That is how we can best use our mind. We can best use our sword. That's what this Ace of Swords is all about. It's the aces are each element at its most potential, has the most potential. It's not at its most potential, but it has the most potential. It's kind of like comparing a baby to a 100-year-old person, right? Which one has the more potential, right? Obviously the baby, because it has a lot of years ahead of itself and it has a lot of growing to do. And the 100-year-old he's at his last straws, right? So that's what the Ace of Swords, right? The ace cards of each sword, of each element are. It's the baby, and it starts growing and it starts exploring all of these different types of swords, the 2, the 3, the 4, right? So we have potential here. Imagine the potential that your mind has if it's not beating you down with anxiety and depression. So big changes are coming, and they are coming at you fast. Nothingness and aloneness. Whoa. I guess there is only one hand here, and there is one person here. There is nothing here, and there is one person here. But there is multiple over here. So imagine that that is another big change that is coming, that you are going from being alone, and, a lot of people see being alone as a bad thing, but it is a good thing. It is useful in its own way. It doesn't mean that people have to be together all of the time. Sometimes, a lot of the times, it's good for a person to have its aloneness and then have its connectedness, and then have its aloneness and then have its connectedness, right? Just like it's good in nature for it to be dark sometimes and then for it to be light sometimes, for it to be dark sometimes and then for it to be light sometimes, right? It's good out in nature for you to go up sometimes and go down sometimes. Everything is okay. Just because you're going down doesn't mean it's bad. Just because you're going up doesn't mean it's bad. Just because you're alone for a while doesn't mean it's bad. Just because you're surrounded by people doesn't mean it's bad. Right? Just because it's daytime doesn't mean it's bad. Just because it's nighttime doesn't mean it's bad. Okay, it's just different seasons of life. Different seasons that you go through. And since we are made in the image of God, right? Well, to understand ourselves, we can look around, because apparently God made all of this stuff, everything that you can see. So if we kind of pay attention to all of these things that are happening, then we can understand more about ourselves. So nothingness. Number 5, I kind of want to read nothingness and aloneness. So both of these are major arcana. So the major arcana cards are things that happen to us. So it is like a chess game, right? It's white versus black. If you're playing as the white pieces, right, you make a move, but then you have to wait for the black pieces to make a move. And then it's your turn to move again. And then you wait for the opponent to make a move, right? So imagine life. Your life is the same way. There are moments to where we make our move, right? We are in control of things. We practice and do things over and over again until we get them right. And then there are times where life makes a move, where big changes come at you, and they come at you fast. So it's like you're over here doing one thing that you're getting better at, and then life says, okay, it's time to do this new thing. And then it grabs you and it moves you, it shifts your life into something different, right? This is kind of like you're going to high school over here, right? And then you get to the end of high school and you graduate, and then life big transition into college, you know, and then it's something totally new, something totally, a big change, right? and then you're over here and you graduated college, right? And then life, poof, big change here, have a go out into the real world and start working, right? It's just in life we have big changes, and that's what those major arcana cards are about, is when life makes a move, when life when you have a big shift in life, you know, we have small shifts, right? Like each day of the week, right? That's a small shift, right? Compared to a change in a year, that's a bigger shift. Okay, so we all have big shifts, we all have small shifts, and these major arcana cards are about big shifts. So I'll just read the nothingness. It says, being in the gap can be disorienting and even scary. Ooh, yeah, scary noises like my dog is making. Nothing to hold on to, no sense of direction, not even a hint of what choices and possibilities may lie ahead. I think it's kind of cool that at the beginning we were talking about fearing the unknown, right? So, nothing to hold on to, no sense of direction, not even a hint of what choices and possibilities might lie ahead. But it was just this state of pure potential, we were talking about the ace being pure potential, that existed before the universe was created. All you can do now is to relax into this nothingness, fall into the silence between the words, watch this gap between the outgoing and incoming breath, and treasure each empty moment of the experience. Something sacred is about to be born. How cool is that? And this is gonna be born out of the aloneness, right? So sometimes it's okay it's good, useful to be alone. So let's see why it's useful at this moment right now, and then let's get something sacred is about to be born, and it's coming at you fast, and there's big changes. And imagine going from anxiety and depression to a calmer, quieter mind, where it helps you and it thinks of solutions, because that's what that's a good useful tool for analyzing, right? That's to solve problems. The Aeon, yeah, something new is coming. Wow. And the Four of Discs power, look at that, Four of Discs. So the cool thing about this card is we have the discs, right? So the rest of the cards are basically things that you cannot see, right? So fire is the wands cards are about the soul, right? The fire, the part of you that is eternal, the part of you that doesn't stop moving, just like a fire, right? A fire, even if it's still, it just gonna keeps on moving, right? So it doesn't die, and it just keeps on moving. So imagine that's like how your soul is, right? That's the spark, that's that fire that's began this adventure of you becoming a human, right? But just your soul, just like that fire that even if it's still, it doesn't stop moving. Your soul is that eternal part, and that's what the fire cards are about, right? We can't really see the soul, but just like Jesus said, right, that we are like the wind. We don't know where we come from, we don't know where we're going, right? So just the soul, we don't know where it came from, and we don't know where it's gonna go. We just know that we are this little human in the meantime. Right? It came from over here, it's chilling right here with us right now, and then it's gonna go over there. Where is it going? Nobody knows. So that's what the wands are, right? The soul part, something invisible, and then the cups come out, right? Which are the emotions, which the same, just like our soul, just like the wind, right? We can't really see the emotions, and we don't know where they come from, we don't know where they go, but we can see the effect that the emotions have on people, on you, and your face. You know, people can read emotions, and they're not really seeing the emotions, but they're seeing what the emotions are doing to affect you, to affect your body, to affect your smile, right? So emotions. And just like the wind as well, right? We can't see the wind, but we can see the effect that the wind has on the trees. The trees sway back and forth, and we know there's wind even without being able to feel it, right? So same with emotions. Emotions are invisible, but we can see the effect that the emotions have on it, on the person and its surroundings. Then we move on to the swords, which is of the mind, right? Which is you thinking, right? That's also invisible. We can't really see what you're thinking, right? We can see the effect, I guess, of you thinking maybe, but we can't really see thoughts. Or, so then we move on to the fourth element, which is of discs, which is now everything that you can see with your eyes, right? Which is why this is material, anything material, right? This is is the pentacles. So it's the things that you can see. Okay, so now in the tree of life, the ace through the 3, those are all the ace 2 and 3 are all in the nothingness. There's nothing up there. There is the line, there's the abyss. Let me see if I have my page on the tree of life. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so these 3 are above the abyss. There is nothing up here. There's just pure potential. And then the nothing becomes something. And to this 4, this is the first something. This is the first something that pops up in the nothing. And there is nothing, but now there is something. And this something looks around and there's nothing else right there, because there's nothing up here, even though there was something. But these somethings are nothing because they are above the abyss. But then these nothings were able to come below the abyss and turn into something, which is this 4 here. So 4 of discs, the 4 of power. So now imagine we are in the discs. We are, after so much nothingness, we appear in the material of something, right? And same with the number. You were in the world of nothing, and then all of a sudden we are in the world of something. So that something is multiplied by 2. So big changes are coming, and they're coming at you fast. This feels like there's a whole lot of nothing, and then there is a whole lot of something, which is kind of cool because you can see it in the colors of the cards too. It's so dark. Look at that. There's nothing, and then boom, bright colors. Look at that. Boom. Which is cool because when we read the definition for nothingness, we were just talking about how this is the potential of where everything exploded from, right? So that was probably a big change, right? Where there's nothing and all of a sudden, boom, there's something. But that's what's happening here. There's nothing happening, and then boom, something. And it's gonna be a fun adventure, and you're gonna be ready for it this time. Look at that. You're in charge of your sword this time. You're in charge of your mind. All right. So, see the story however you want it to be. You can see it as a sad story. You can see it as an exciting adventure. You can see it as like a dramatic soap opera, right? You can see it as, I don't know, an anime, where you're going off and leveling up and getting stronger. But you decide. It's your mind, right? You decide how you want to perceive life. And big changes are coming. They're coming at you fast. I recommend the anime one. That one sounds kind of fun, seeing life through that way. Yeah. Instead of seeing life as, oh man, I have to do dishes, just make up like a dishwashing jutsu. And make life more fun. You make life, you create life, you make it however you want it to be. You can make it sad, you can make it happy, you can make it exciting, you can make it fun, you can make it serious. There's nothing, and then there is something, and we are in a place to where we can make that something into something totally beautiful, something totally different, something totally insane. So yeah, we'll get some last words. Nice. Number 10, this is my nature card. This is my one. Go out into nature. It helps. Why? Because sometimes, when we are stuck in like a room, right? Or if you're at work stuck inside and then there's just this tiny room and you're just in the room, right? Well, your universe shrinks down to that size of that room. And so everything that happens in the room is basically everything that is going on in the universe, right? And that is how we perceive it. This is what we're talking about, how, maybe the way we are perceiving things versus what's actually happening, right? Reality. So when we are stuck in that room and then we're so stressed out about the things that are going wrong, or when things are going wrong at work, and that becomes the whole universe, that becomes your whole world, and then you reflect that up to the outside, right? You reflect how bad everything is going on, and then our stresses are so big because we were stuck in a room that was so small, right? So sometimes it's nice to go outside and to go out into nature and to remind yourself of how big this universe actually is. And when you enlarge that universe into, from a small room into what the actual universe is, you know, it's gigantic, and then it makes your stresses feel so much more smaller, and it makes you it makes you feel like there's a lot more going on to all of your little stresses, all of your, you know, little things that were so big because you were in such a tiny place. But when you put yourself in a bigger place, then, you know, it's nice to remind yourself of how small we really are and how small our stresses really are. And it makes you perceive life in a different way. So yeah, go out into nature. Like if we zoom in, you can see a tiny little Michael and Dwight. That's how small we really are. That's how small our stresses really are. So go outside, go into nature. Let's remind yourself. See, imagine that big change, right? Of that perspective of everything is going wrong, and you're stuck in such a small place, you know. And then that transition from going into a huge universe and reminding yourself of how small we really are, and, you know, sure that there's stresses, but those stresses are actually pretty tiny, and I am able to handle them, you know. So big changes fast. I really hope this reading helped, Taurus. If it did help, please help me as well by leaving a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing if you would like to keep hanging out, as this is a safe place where we try to figure life out together. So thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.